Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is on every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Watch live on YouTube and make sure to subscribe. Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is presented by Raymond Felton State Farm.
Have you compared insurance rates lately? Are you satisfied with your current insurance provider? If not, look no further than Ray Felton State Farm, a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap. For a free quote, call his office at 234-284-2996 or visit him online at rayfelton.com.
Whether you're hosting a corporate event, wedding, conference, concert, or any other special gathering, our comprehensive range of services will exceed your expectations and elevate your event to new heights. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
We've got the experience, the passion, and the beach to make your event a smash hit. Whether it's a romantic wedding, a lively sports venue, or a rocking high school dance, Troutland Entertainment has you covered. Contact them at 330-414-4261 or email them at troutlandent@gmail.com. That's troutlandent@gmail.com. Elevate your brand with Mako Custom Printing. Mako Custom Printing specializes in creating high-quality spiritware, corporate apparel, and promotional products that make your brand stand out. Whether you need custom printing, graphic design, or an online store for your school or business, we've got you covered. Make a statement with Mako Custom Printing. Visit us at mako.com to start your custom printing journey today. That's MEHCO.com.
Sports on Tap. This is the Summer Spotlight. Well, actually, no, this is a high school football preview show. I got myself mixed up there. Presented by Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance. Located in beautiful, not a great effort. Located in beautiful Hudson, Ohio. Check them out at rayfelton.com or give them a call at 234-284-2996 for all your auto, home, and life insurance needs. I got to hear about him and some of our other sponsors before the show. Make sure you stick around after the show to hear about the rest of our sponsors as well. You're watching this live on our YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe. Smash the notifications button and get those notes when we are about to go live on the air. We are also on Facebook at Sports on Tap. Make sure you follow us on Facebook. We are on Threads at SOT_podcasts. We're on Spotify. You can listen to us on Spotify. Our Twitter/X handle is at SOT Podcasts. Make sure you follow us. Get all the live updates when we start going out into the field and covering the games. Our website is sportsontap.podcast.com. And for any questions, comments, suggestions, or corrections, email us at sportsontap.podcast@gmail.com. My name is Ed Dick, alongside Rob Troutman, Noah Jacobson, Josh Jeffy, and Sean Duffy. We got full crew in the house today.
When's the last time that happened? That's been a long time.
It's been a minute. All of us have had various assignments going on over the last few weeks. But as we're ramping up, we're getting real close to double starting up here. And the football season, the high school football season, is quickly coming upon us. And we're continuing our jaunt through our respective conferences. We have 3 guests today. Later at 8:40, we're going to be joined by second-year Brunswick head coach Kole Carter. Before that, at 8:20, we're going to be joined by the reigning and defending Suburban League American champion head coach of the Highland Hornets, Mike Gibbons. And joining us now is the head coach of the two-time, twice defending, 4-time overall SL national champ. I put national champion. Oh yeah, national conference champions. 2-time defending. They had a tremendous year last year, 11-2 overall. This head coach has 69 wins against 33 losses for Wadsworth. He is 104-44 overall, and that includes Division 6 Coach of the Year in 2014 for Loudonville. We are joined by Justin Todd from Wadsworth by way of Mount Union, and certainly happy to have him on. Coach, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. So I'm having some technical difficulties with my phone. Can you guys see me and hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, cool. So my front-facing camera is not working. I just found that out about 30 seconds ago. So I've got you guys turned around here, but we'll make it work.
Absolutely. Yeah, just like in the game, sometimes you gotta make things.
All an audible tonight, fellas.
Got to. Hey, Coach. First off, another great season last year. Season's about to warm up here. How's your off season been? And how you guys ramping up going into doubles here coming up shortly?
Yeah, so it's been a really great off season. One of the most productive that we've had. We've got incredible senior leadership. So anytime that you are a player-led team, which we certainly are this year with our senior group, these guys have played a lot of football and a very heralded class. So they really led the off season. You know, it was we're a very unique school in the sense that we don't have a strength coach and we don't have in-school strength and conditioning. So our kids have to find time either before school, which it's well known that we work out really, we hold weightlifting sessions early in the morning. And then, or you can come after school, which are not as regularly attended. And so that presents some challenges in itself when, it's me, and then I can get a couple guys in the morning, but, other coaches that work in our building, they also coach other sports. So 83% of our anticipated roster for this season are multi-sport athletes. And a lot of those kids are spring sports when you're looking between track, baseball, and lacrosse. So a ton of our kids are active in the spring, which is fantastic. I mean, I would guarantee that there's not a program that promotes multi-sport athletes more than the Wadsworth football program. We believe in it, but it does present challenges when you are trying to keep up physically, and when you don't have the opportunity to lift during the school day, and you don't have a strength coach that's training some of the other teams. It can present some challenges, but what I would say is that the reason I told you guys all that is because our kids did an amazing job of overcoming that and finding opportunities to get their lift in. And so I can't be more pleased and proud of the work that our guys did collectively this offseason.
Coach, with a lot of players coming back, and I even talk about some of the players, I think it really starts at the top with your quarterback, Bryson Hall, who was involved as a freshman last year and now is in a sophomore. And now you guys got Jacob Burns, who was the Suburban League Defensive Player of the Year, and Kole Slep, the wide receivers, the Air Force commit. Talk about how those guys are really going to bring that senior leadership, and even talk about some of the other players as well will be a big impact.
Sure. Well, since you started with Bryson, I'll start there. Unique to have a ninth grade quarterback like we had last year, and one that played so well. I think it was a good transition for Bryson, and because we had a pretty veteran team last year. Well, we were able to rely on some of the things that we did well that weren't necessarily quarterback driven, and then as the year went on, we added more to Bryson's plate. So physically, he's matured. He's gained about 15 pounds of muscle this offseason. He's got a little bit taller. Certainly noticed a difference in the velocity with the ball coming out of his hands. So he's had a really tremendous spring and summer. Looks really good with in our 7-on-7s, grasping our offense really well. We feel like in order for us to take another step, we've got to be better in our drop back pass game. A lot of our stuff was manufactured last year off of RPO or really just shot plays where, for us to become the complete offense that we would like to be, there's some different things in our throw game that we want to get good at. And Bryson has really done a nice job of understanding what we're trying to get him, what his reads are against different coverages and things of that nature. So really pleased with his growth and maturation, and you're not going to outwork that young man. I think you mentioned Jake Ernest next, and Jake had an unfortunate injury on the second series of our Avon game. It was friendly fire. One of our players got hit in the back and fell into Jake and ruptured his PCL and a little bit of meniscus issue. But fortunately, when they went in, the damage wasn't as severe. And so Jake has been cleared for about 4 weeks now, and he's been full go and getting himself back into, getting himself game ready, basically. So he looks great. He weighs about 232 pounds right now. He's 6'2". He's running really well, and obviously, being the reigning Suburban League Defensive Player of the Year, played a ton of offense for us at tight end and some running back last year. So Jake's obviously someone that we're going to rely heavily on both sides of the ball, and he'll be a second year captain for our team. So just kind of gives you the character of the young man and what his teammates feel about him. Kole Slep is, as you mentioned, is an Air Force commit. Again, he's a kid that started for us as a freshman on the defensive side of the ball, was a corner his freshman year. Certainly tremendously talented, a very twitchy athlete. And then, we moved him. We were going to get him on the offensive side his sophomore year, and on the very first offensive snap of the game, had a fracture in his lower leg. And so didn't play his sophomore year up until our week 12 game in the playoffs. Came back and then just played a small role in that. Last year, his stats and his film speak for themselves. Again, really a difficult matchup, especially one-on-one. Teams have to do some pretty creative things to make sure that he's bracketed, because he is for all rights and purposes, he's a really tremendous Division I athlete. And then the guy that we didn't mention was Gavin Madigan, who committed to the Army. He'll go to West Point the following summer and play football for the Black Knights. And Gavin he'll be a 3-time captain, which is unheard of. Couldn't find anybody else in Wadsworth history that had ever been named a captain 3 consecutive years. heart and soul of our team on offense and defense. The greatest leader I've been around for a high school kid. And, he's back. And he turned his ankle, had a really severe high ankle sprain week 6 versus Nordonia last year. As you guys are well aware, in the NFL, when you get a high ankle sprain, guys are out at minimum 6 weeks. And Gavin was back in about 3 weeks, but certainly was playing on 1.5 legs. So we're excited to him. He's completely healthy and looks great right now. And then we return a lot of other skill guys. We've just got a lot of players, 9 starters offensively returning. And then defensively, we've got 6 starters returning. So we're excited about that. Had a lot of guys that gained a lot of underclassmen that gained a lot of valuable experience last year during our playoff run and deep, when guys had gotten injured, deep into the Suburban League stretch. So, we return a lot of talent. We return a lot of players. Now it's about getting those guys to mesh together, being completely fluid with our scheme, and then going out and giving our best effort every Friday night.
Coach, it's great talking to you as always. We love having you on the program and talking Grizzlies football. I always like to ask coaches. I always wanted to ask coaches these questions, and one of them is, you've been doing this for a long time, whether it's different hat, same job essentially. What's some of the things that you look forward to the most when you're at this part of the season? It's not quite 2 days, it's not quite in your training camp, but you're kind of in that bubble. Is the excitement for you tangible to get started, or are you already mentally preparing for week 1 and who Barberton's going to throw at you guys, come in a couple weeks?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think the state has done a really good job of balancing whether they're going to enable us to have spring football or provide us with more days over the summer. And I'm one of those guys, probably like every other football coach, that, give us more football. But compared to what it was when I first started coaching, which was 10 days specifically between what was it? It was June 1st and July 31st. You had 10 instructional days. And now when you take into consideration the 3 days that you're allowed mid-May to the end of May, plus they enabled you to do some 7-on-7 this year as long as you kept your teams in pods of 7. And then you've got your 10 days from June 1st to July 14th. And then you've got your 5 acclimation days from July 15th to July 30th. They give you 18 instructional days before that August 1st day hits. And then you've got your, again, as I mentioned, those 7-on-7 pods. And we took advantage of that. We worked with Brunswick. We worked with Strongsville this offseason. So all of those things, you're more prepared schematically now than you've ever been, or at least you should be, if you've taken advantage of your time. And I think that we've certainly done that. So now what it is it's, what is the exciting part? The exciting part is making sure that every single day that we arrive at practice with a purpose, and that there's a specific mission on that day that we're going to get better at this, because everybody's probably got at least 90% of their playbook, offensively, defensively, special teams, installed. Now it's about refinement. How razor sharp can you become before that week 1? So the exciting part for me is to continue to watch that growth, and then obviously you're focusing on your young guys, especially over the summer, making sure that they're continuing to develop. So every step of the process is exciting for us, but I think that we're not game ready. Like our kids could go out and play, and we could run a semblance of an offense, of a defense without a game plan. But it's about how razor sharp can we get over the next couple weeks.
Coach, I kind of want to talk about going back to some of your players. You mentioned the guys that we mentioned earlier that have been 2-year captains, 3-year captains. Wadsworth seems to every year have a core group of underclassmen that just really excel and get that lot of playing time, and you as a staff seem to lean on a lot, and those kids turn into your leaders sophomore, junior year. Just kind of talk about the process that you guys go through as a staff, identifying those guys that have that talent, and what the process is for you to just make that decision, just to kind of put them in, we're rolling with these guys, even though they're so young.
So it really dates back to 2022. In 17, 18, and 2019, we had large senior classes that we were a player-led program. It was really a cool watching these guys pay it forward and pass on their leadership to the young guys. COVID year 20 was kind of a mess for Wadsworth, and then 21, we knew we'd be in a little bit of a rebuild, but I really always go back to our 2022-23 senior class. And while our record wasn't fantastic on the field, we played a lot of really highly competitive games. We were close to being, a phenomenal record that year. But we had a group of seniors that year that took their, we talked to them about reestablishing the foundation of Wadsworth program, or of the Wadsworth program. And I can always go back and credit that group. Our four captains that year were Ian Kaufman, Braden Probst, Maverick Blackburn, and Davis Nye. And then there was a bunch of other seniors that played that did an amazing job. And what those guys did was, we kind of gave them that charge of, you guys are here to reestablish the program. You guys are going to be the foundation that we're going to build upon. And what I really noticed out of that group is they took it personal to make sure that the younger guys understood what a workmanlike attitude was. And I think our program's indebted to that group, because we asked them through a lot of leadership training, we asked them to take that responsibility, and they did that. And then that just carried forward. Each and every year you had this new crop of seniors that were able to look at the previous year and say, man, that was the way to do it. Those guys did it the right way. They helped the younger guys in the weight room. They made sure that those kids had rides at 5:30 in the morning to get to our workouts. So if you're talking about why we have underclassmen then that are going to step up the following year and become the leaders, I think it's because it's modeled. It is modeled and not expected, but certainly appreciated in our program. And it's just become something that our older guys do. And there's no greater example than this group of seniors right now. I mean, every time, I pull up to practice and I see these guys, they're pulling into the parking lot. There's a host of young guys jumping out of their car. So we're really fortunate that we've got great young men that are seniors in our program. It's not easy to play football. I think that most programs experience that. There's a lot of guys that find other things that could be a little bit more, I don't want to say easy, but maybe more desire that you would find at like 8 a.m. as opposed to going out and being in full pads. But our guys that do make it as seniors, they really they take a lot of, they have a great sense of responsibility with what it comes to become a Wadsworth football player, and they pay that forward.
Yeah, Coach, talk a little bit about how do you figure out, you have so many players at Wadsworth, and you do a great job of putting them in positions to win games and really get better and better without thinking of where you have to go on the field. Their reaction time is pretty quick. You could tell that they're comfortable in each position. Is it from the youth program and relying on a lot of those young coaches that they know and try to put some of these players in certain positions, or how do you figure out which players go well at certain positions? Because there's a lot of different players, and it can go any which way, but it seems like you really figured that out too.
Yeah, I would give a lot of credit to our middle school staff. When we have basically mandated at the middle school level that we are going to have 22 starters, 22, 11 on offense, 11 on defense, and understanding that kids grow and develop at different rates. What we've done is we've then scheduled alternative games. We're not big enough yet where we can have two completely separate teams, but what we do is we play a lot of alternative games. And so kids that maybe haven't grown into their bodies yet or haven't hit puberty, which happens a lot at the middle school level, we find time for them to play and get valuable and meaningful reps. And that's really important for us. So the way that our progression at the youth level works all the way up is in sixth grade is when we really start 11 on 11 football. Prior to that, we're with the progressive model of rookie tackle, padded flag, tiny tykes. But anyway, in sixth grade, these guys will start to use, well, even younger than that, they'll use our terminology from like a formational perspective or what we call certain players. We do that all the way down through the youth level. In sixth grade, when they go 11 on 11, they start running a semblance of our offense. Seventh grade, eighth grade, ninth grade, all the way up through. So there's a progression to where, till when they get to us, they've got a really good understanding of what we're trying to accomplish offensively and defensively. And I think that, when you only run a few run plays, you run them out of a bunch of different looks and a few pass concepts and, defensive stunts and things like that. I think it makes it easier to teach.
Yeah, we're talking with Wadsworth head coach Justin Todd. Coach, we want to thank you for the time. As always, the Wadsworth Grizzlies opened their season at home against Barberton and to defend their Suburban League National Conference champions. Before I get you out of here, I'm going to bring you back to a blast in the past from your 2014 Loudonville team. I don't know if you remember a gentleman named Joe Artrip.
Big Joe.
Yeah, Big Joe. He
Big Joe's a police officer now.
He sure is. He married my cousin.
Nice. Yeah.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Big Joe was a great tight end, defensive end for the Loudonville Redbirds, and actually he was such a big kid, got some Division I, sniffs. Never ended up, playing. He played a little bit of college football afterwards, but just a phenomenal young man. Comes from a great family, and I talked to him right after he had gotten married, and just a fantastic kid.
He was pretty jacked up about the fact that you came on, that we talk on our show, and it's like next time we talk, I gotta bring it up. So I appreciate that. He's
my man, Big Joe.
I will if he's not watching this, I'll make sure he knows to begin with a shout out.
Yeah, he's a great man.
Appreciate it, Coach. Hey, thank you very much for taking the time. Good luck through doubles. And we'll certainly catch up with your players over the course of the season.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, that is Justin Todd of the Wadsworth Grizzlies. And they open up their season at home against Barberton, a crossover league from the Suburban League there. And really good stuff from Coach Todd, as always. They have a lot of exciting things going on in Wadsworth, as he mentioned. A young stud quarterback who's going to be a sophomore this year. From the Wadsworth end, you don't see too many teams. It's not very often that a quarterback starts as a freshman, let alone as a returning as a sophomore. They're a tweener school between a Division II and a Division I. So it's not very. It's a very rare thing for that to happen, and they've obviously had some really, really good quarterbacks over the years. This goes even going back to when we were close to being in school. Clint Cochran from the 2003 team was extremely good. Joey Boffman, Mr. Ohio football, from roughly 16, 17. And they're but it goes way beyond that. Gavin Madigan, just an absolute stud. So there's a lot of good things for Wadsworth. And we're looking forward to seeing how the Grizzlies do this year. And as we shift from one Suburban League conference champion to another, while he's getting connected here, we'll talk a little bit about him. We're going to be joined shortly by Mike Gibbons, and there he is.
Hey.
Coach Gibbons.
How we doing?
We're doing good. How you doing today, man?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. He is 84-30 so far in his career at Highland, 95-41 overall. Tremendous season last year, 13-1, conference champions for the second time since Coach has been there, and really getting ready for a good offseason, for the wrapping up for a good season. How's your offseason going so far as you're getting ready to prepare for doubles?
Yeah, it's going really well. Kids are working hard. We've actually been going here with our practices. We started this past Thursday Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then again today we'll be going this whole week. So, but it's really good off season. Kids are working hard, so excited for this upcoming year.
Coach, I think it really helps when you got a running back like Casey Miser back. I mean, what a year he had last year for you guys. Had almost 3,000 yards rushing, 46 touchdowns, was the Suburban League Offensive Player of the Year for you guys. How awesome is it just to be having a running back with that kind of skill level like that? Just not only him, and how awesome is it just how your offensive line has been doing the last couple of years, of how he's been paving the way to have those kind of numbers.
Yeah, I mean, he put up some staggering numbers last couple of years. I think he was around 2,700 yards last year, 46 touchdowns. So just completely eye-popping stats there. But, Casey's a great kid, number one. He does all the little things the right way. He practices really hard. He's a great leader. He's good with all the kids on our team. He leads by example. So when your best players does that always is a special thing. So glad he's back this year for his senior year, and he's ready to go, and looking forward to another big year from him. He's a kid that can run it inside, outside. He can catch the ball well out of the backfield. So there's really not too much that he's not able to do. So just a special player, and he's going to have a big year for us.
Coach, you mentioned that you've been going since last Thursday with practices and things like that. What's been the common thread for you and the coaching staff coming into this year? Is it still maintaining that success from last year, or is there some things that you guys have identified specifically early on in this quote-unquote training camp that you wanted to identify and correct or shore up as we move into week one?
Yeah, no, sure. I mean, obviously there's things from year to year that you think you want to improve on, maybe from the year before that you thought were weaknesses or things that you're just trying to grow from. So definitely pinpointed some things on offense and defense that we're working to get better at, and then identifying our players at certain positions, and if we have to make moves at certain spots, and just getting everyone in the right spot right now is really our main focus. So obviously our main goal is to win a state title and to take this thing all the way. So with that being said, it's a day in, day out grind, I guess, of just putting in really good days and trying to grow every day.
Coach, one of the main things about football, the success of having a good team, is you're able to run the ball and you can play really good defense. Well, we already talked about running the ball, but can you just go into talk a little bit more about how well your defense played last year, almost dominating, giving up very little points every game. And then what you're looking forward to this year as your defense continues to grow and change and going into a new season?
Yeah, obviously last year, amazing season with our defense. Like you mentioned, anytime you're able to run the ball the way we did on offense and then turn around and play outstanding defense the way we did, we were a really tough team to beat there. So trying to grow upon that. I mean, we returned, really 5 to 6 starters on that side of the ball. So coming from a 13-1 team to be able to return that many kids, that doesn't always happen. Usually if you have that big of a year, you lose quite a bit. And we certainly, lost some very, very good players on that side of the ball. But we're excited about the returning guys and then guys that are going to step up and get their opportunity to get out there on Friday night. So, just really Coach Meyer does an outstanding job of that side of the ball, and all our defensive coaches really put great game plans together every single week. And our kids are very smart. They're able to handle the game plans. So they're very cerebral. They ask a lot of questions, and then they communicate really well out on the field. So, there's, usually not that many, blown assignments, things like that. They're in position, and then they like to get after it. So, yeah, they fly to the ball and all that good stuff. So they want to definitely keep that going and see if we can maybe even get a little bit better this year.
Yeah, Coach, you talked about Casey Miser and some of the offensive line. Talk about some of the other seniors and young upcoming players that we should look out for this season.
Yeah, I think on the offensive side of the ball, we already talked about Casey at running back. The receiver position, we returned quite a bit. So Lucas Girding was a 1,000-yard player for us this past year as a slot receiver. So he's back. So excited to have him back. Nick Dubkowski was our starting X-receiver last year. We got him back. I have some good up-and-coming junior receivers that are in there getting a ton of reps right now that are working really hard, and excited for those kids to get the chance to get out there. Obviously, Evan Faust led our team in receptions last year at the tight end position, and then also led our team in tackles on the defensive side of the ball. So to have Evan back, on both sides of the ball, he impacts the game so much. And then Josh Messina's back on the offensive line. Cody Bendow played a little bit of O-line, started in our D-line last year. So we got him back up front. And then when you look at Grady Gibb at quarterback, who this will be his first year starting, but really excited about everything that he's shown this offseason. He looks really, really good. So excited about that. And then we look at the defense side of the ball. We return all three linebackers. I already mentioned Evan Faust led our team in tackles. Jamison Gordon's about 6'3", 220-pound Mike linebacker who runs really well. So excited for him. He's a returning starter. Cal Whitling, outside linebacker, had an awesome year for us last year. So those three guys back at the second levels, really, really key. Cody on the D-line, Nick Dubkowski at safety. Chris Metzger was an all-conference player for us, boundary corner. He's back. And then, like I said, we have, competition at those other spots, and we're excited to see kind of how this whole thing unravels here in the next few weeks.
We're talking with Highland Hornets head football coach Mike Gibbons. Coach, the last few years, 4 playoff games each. And in 3, the 2 years before that, and even 2 more, even beyond that. So your players have gotten used to playing a lot of playoff football. Specifically your seniors, if you count their freshman year, they've played more than an extra full season, or at least practice for it. How important, how awesome is that for you guys as a coaching staff to be able to keep those players in the system as long as you guys are playing in the playoffs and stacking those years on top of each other? Yeah,
it's huge. That's one of the biggest things I would say that our program has really had a lot of success from is just those extra practices. Like, you can't get that anywhere, so for those kids, again, whether they were starting as sophomores or not, they were still out there getting a ton of reps as juniors. So if you look, from their sophomore, junior year alone, that's 28 games there. So they're almost at a whole extra season there. Just invaluable reps and experience, means so much. And to have, a lot of these kids back as starters, they just have had so many reps, and they're actually out there really helping coach a lot of the younger kids too and bring them along. It's kind of cool to see that, our receivers will just get on the board after practice with our young guys and catch them up because, they've been through it so much. So as we go through these installs, they have like a really, really strong grip on everything that we do. So they're almost like coaches on the field now and helping the younger guys get caught up. So it's, really important.
Coach, looking back at last year at the 13-1 record and winning the Suburban League, what are some of the biggest takeaways that you could take from last season as you guys use it as momentum going into this season?
Yeah, I think you want to learn from everything that you were able to do. I want our kids and our program to be proud of everything that we were able to accomplish last year. It was certainly a dominant performance by our team last year, and what a great group of kids. Last year's seniors and everyone in our program, just everyone bought in and did what they had to do and owned their roles. So just really proud of that whole team. And, it was just a special season. So, 13-1 is a great year, and those kids have so much to be proud of. Now going into the 2025 season, the kids have a lot of experience, but also, letting them know that, 2025, we have no wins, we have no losses, just like everyone else. So, we have lofty goals, but if we, take our foot off the gas, so to say, we can get caught very easily, and football's got a, way of humbling you. So we know we got to put in the work day in and day out, be ready for our opening game here. And we know we got some big challenges coming around the corner. So just getting ready for those games, just taking it one day at a time.
Coach, you mentioned you guys opened the season on a pretty interesting note in the sense that you guys are traveling on not only on the road but out of state. You guys are going to play McDowell in Pennsylvania. How does that, from as the head coach, obviously there's a logistical, situation to that. Is that something that you have to plan with your athletic directors and kind of get things squared away, like on top of your guys' current, obviously you're practicing, getting ready for that? Is that just more so stuff you kind of have to deal with prior to camp, or is that like week of sort of stuff?
Yeah, no, we we've been planning for it. Even our second scrimmage is going to be at Big Walnut, and the team that was in the state semifinals last year in our Division 2, and they have an outstanding team coming back. So wanted to get our kids in a further away scrimmage to get them used to the travel before the week 1 game. So that'll be about a little over an hour drive there. We got the our boosters picked up the luxury buses, so we have a couple of those we're going to take. I know some people over at Lake Catholic, so I think they're going to let us stop and get off the bus there and stretch, use the restroom. It's about a halfway point there, get back on, and get out there for the game. So once we get there around, we always get to away games at 5 o'clock, as long as everything works out well that way. Get there and just get ready to go out and play a game. We know, it's going to be, probably just our parents as fans and versus an entire, school and everyone they're going to bring to a home game. So it's definitely going to be a tough environment to play in. So we've been talking about that over and over again, and just so the kids aren't shocked when they get out there, and we're trying to prepare them as much as we can for it.
Coach, last question. We'll get you out on this. I just had just thinking about it. You're a perennial playoff team. The playoffs are changing, going back to almost an old formula. Do you think about that? I mean, do you have any thoughts about how going down from 16 to 12 teams, how that might affect you as you guys, get to that point, which, hopefully for your sake, you'll be there once again. I'm sure you will be.
Yeah, no, I mean, personally, I think there's a lot of good involved in that. I felt like 16 was too many. I think, you should still, getting to the playoffs, there should be a sense of a reward for a great regular season. Not to, say anything, but I felt like 16 was probably too many people or too many teams. Sorry. And does that 16 team, against a 1 seed, it's just a lot of uneven scores. With that being said, I think it's also a little bit of a double-edged sword in terms of, you have a bye if you're in the top 4 there, which is good, right? If you're beat up, you want to get healthy. I think that's important. But then the other side of it is like, okay, well, you're sitting for a week versus being out there and playing and staying kind of in the rhythm of what you're used to doing. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is, and I just hope we can get in the playoffs and take it 1 week at a time from there. So I see the good and the bad, I guess, out of, both situations. So regardless, just play by the rules and go out there. And if we get the opportunity to get in the playoffs, make the most of it.
Well, it kind of reminds us of our time back in Mount Union, where we were one of the fortunate teams to have a bye week in the conclusion of the playoffs. So at the very least, you got a little bit of that, to draw from, if nothing else.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, Coach, thanks again as always for taking the time to join us. Best of luck to you guys over the course of the season. We'll look forward to talking to some of your players and go out and see some of your games. And good luck as you go out to Erie to take on McDowell.
All right, thanks, guys. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
That is the head coach of the Highland Hornets, Mike Gibbons, joining us. Always, we always appreciate his time when he joins us. Highland, just a fantastic team, and we didn't really bring this up with him, but what I'm starting to notice here, and we'll get our next guest down here in a minute, but. And it might be more appropriate to talk about this maybe later, but they're getting closer. You want to win, but they're inching the way closer to Avon, much like Avon was inching the way closer to Hoban.
True.
And they finally caught them. So you kind of see an evolution going on there. And if that collision course happens a third time in 3 years, maybe fourth time in 5 years. It's going to be a heck of a battle. There's obviously still a huge season to get through, so I might be jumping ahead of myself, but you can't help but notice, looking at the results of the playoffs the last few years.
They dominate even the regular season too. I mean, their only close game in the regular season was a 31-24 game in the first game against Hudson. Otherwise, they pretty much rolled up until Avon, and they only lost by 8 points to Avon in those playoffs. So they had a remarkable season, and you're right, Ed. I mean, they're just rolling, and they've really figured something out there at Highland because they got these players playing at a very high level.
No doubt. All right, well, we'll certainly get out to see the Hornets this year in Suburban League American Conference play. All right, our third and final guest tonight, he is the head coach of our beloved Brunswick Blue Devils. He is second-year head coach here at Brunswick, fourth year overall. He's been a Blue Devil coach all throughout between Gay Academy and Brunswick. We are joined by Kole Carter from Brunswick. Kole.
I think that's a heck of a background you got behind you.
I know, at first I thought he was on vacation.
Yes, that's great.
Are you in the greenhouse in high school?
I think you guys have seen so far.
But we haven't seen that yet. You're right. Man.
I'm going to have to turn around and water these at some point. I appreciate you guys having me on. I hope you guys are doing well.
Hey, we're doing good,
Coach.
They might be cold. I wonder if you're cooling yourself off from practice earlier today. I drove by on my way home from work. Man, you guys are putting in some work today. Goodness. Right before the storm.
For sure, yeah. That 1:30 to 4:30 time frame is probably I don't know who chose that time, but might be the worst all day.
You know what? I'm blaming Kobe for that. It's all his
That's
fault.
Right.
Also blame Jim. Hey, Coach, thanks for taking the time to join us tonight. Your second year as the head coach, your first full off season. After coming in from Gay Academy, how's this off season treated you, and how you guys preparing for the upcoming season, going into to doubles and hitting later this week?
Right. Yeah, I think that this year you just kind of know what personnel you have coming back. Last year I got to Brunswick in about March, and a lot of it was just trying to get to know the kids and just rub elbows, show them who I was as a person and the type of culture that I could bring to the program, it's been neat to actually get a chance to establish some of that weight room culture that maybe wasn't there in the past. I felt like over the past 4 or 5 months we've asked kids to do some really hard things, and they've really committed to that challenge and they bought into it. We had our lift-a-thon day one this morning, and some of those numbers today compared to where we were at last year, I got really excited because some of those measurables, weight room numbers don't lie. Whenever you can look back to 12 months ago this time and you see really some gains that you're making there, you feel a lot better about the progress that you've made, over the duration of these last few months.
Coach, I know the first year wasn't the year that you wanted as your first year head coach, but I think it really helps with the seniors that you have coming back. It starts at the top. I think with your quarterback, Sean Barnett, what a big year I think he's going to have for you this year. But it's the other guys besides Sean. I mean, you guys got Eli Nichols, your running back, your linebacker, Elijah Clement, and your cornerbacks, Cohen Issa and Ryder Kirk. Just talk about how those 5 seniors are really going to make a big impact, and even talk about some of the other players as well.
Yeah, so actually getting ahead of some things, I'm going to address something. Sean Barnett's going to focus on basketball this year. So we are going to have a different quarterback this year. We've had 2 kids come out. Nolan Burke was a sophomore that played some JV. Didn't come out last year. Really good baseball kid, 6'3", 6'4". And then Jake Thomas-Sunis was our JV quarterback last year, another great dual sport athlete, batted like 400 in his summer baseball league this year. And he's been the starter for the last 3 months. And I'm telling you, the strides that these two have really, really challenged themselves. They compete every day at practice. And I'm excited about that spot. I think that we're going to turn some heads at that spot. It's really, really calming to me as a coach. Whenever we had this conversation about 4 or 5 months ago, it was like the world was falling. And then, I'm blessed to show up every day and have kids that are very coachable and they want to get better. And that spot's a place that we want to be positive this year. Last year we weren't positive in the turnover and touchdown margin. And we really feel like we can take care of the ball and we can, sustain drive, score in the red zone. This year will be a lot more successful and it starts at that position. You got to be all in at that position. If you're not, then you're not doing us any favors.
Coach, again, thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's the busy part of the year for you, especially coming in. I'm going to ask the question that I like to ask every coach coming into their second year is, are you now at the point you think where you're no longer trying to teach language to these players, that you're now able to kind of refine where you're at, or is it still a little bit more of the install portion of both your offense and your defense?
Yeah, I think if you're in a situation like we were last year, you really have to be self-reflective and you have to see, what worked with these kids. What did they retain? What did they not retain? Where did we have success? I think we ran 100 and some formations last year, and before games, coaches would be like, "This is a lot to prep for, and this is awesome, coach." And then I really learned that, we're doing too much, and we really wanted to simplify that playbook, find a couple personnel groups that fit who we have on our roster well, and then just really find some things that are our bread and butter. We're working on installing a couple run schemes this week, along with our jet, and then just 3 or 4 pass schemes, and not trying to overwhelm these kids. I felt like last year, you're dealing with 15 to 18-year-old kids, and there's probably 5% of those kids on a 100-man roster that loves football the same way that I do, or some of us do. But the other 75% are there because they enjoy it, and then the other 15%, it's hard to get them there every day, right? So how do we match some of this terminology? How do we cut this install where it really relates to 15 to 18-year-old kids, because we don't have the 30, 40 hours a week like some of these college programs do to do so much install. So really just trying to refine our gap schemes and things we're good at, and go from there.
Coach, kind of off the field stuff, and just for me perusing the social media and stuff like that, I've noticed that Brunswick football has been doing a lot of stuff. You have drone footage from one of your practices, which was awesome. You're showing the lift schedules on there. I know that really doesn't affect the on the field stuff, but talk about how that affects the off the field stuff. It's almost like it's a good advertisement for your program that things are happening. And let's be honest, we're in the social media age now, so that kind of stuff is important in these younger kids who are not in high school yet, but could see that, be like, wow, that's pretty neat. You could see what's going on. I want to be a part of that. So was that kind of something that you wanted to kind of install a little bit more at Brunswick, or what your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think your job as a head coach, and I might be misquoting this, and I might even not be given the right credit to the person, but I want to say, Chip Kelly, our job as head coaches is to communicate, collaborate, and motivate, right? So we really wanted to communicate what was going throughout our program. Kids can't show interest or really have attendance numbers if they don't know what's going on in the first place. So, we're flying around, we're using box out sports, and we're getting QR codes posted in the lunchroom. I'm going to kids in the lunchroom, handing them QR codes, or I'm handing them flyers, and hey, we're doing this week. And maybe we have something else going on that was outside of lifting or practice, things that aren't the most fun environments to be in when you don't have much football background. We've done this where we go and support other programs. We'll be the student section, where we're having dads and decals August 7th with all the dads that come want to put the helmets. We just had our junior high install camp, which I think you saw that drone footage from last week. We had 85 campers, 7th and 8th grade there in the middle of July before their practice kicked off. We got those guys in helmets, and we got them some reps, and it was very nice for me to actually get a chance to, shake hands and communicate with these 7th and 8th graders and say, hey, I'm your head coach. I'm visible. I want you to play for Brunswick in 3 or 4 years. And I'm not saying that was missing in the past, but I think that we have to do a better job of communicating and collaborating with those junior high and youth coaches, and just letting them know what's going on in the program. They have to be informed to be there.
Well, I'll just add this real quickly. I still live in Brunswick, so just this past weekend I saw a couple kids with their all-white helmets and blue face mask on their bikes riding around, so I think they're pretty proud to have that helmet on so far.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and that's the biggest thing. We want to make it cool to play at Brunswick. It's been a tough few years for these guys, and I knew that whenever I took this job. They wouldn't have gave a 26-year-old from podunk nowhere a job if they didn't know that I was here to try to build this thing and do it the right way. And I think the first part of my job is the relationships, and we've done a really good job of building relationships with these kids coming back through our program, and they know they can trust me, and they're excited to get after it.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. I think the one thing I noticed right away was your energy. You can feel it. You're trying to get more kids involved, and I think with everything that you're doing, it's the right way to do things to really bring that energy and positivity back to the program and get these kids to stay here. We've talked to a lot of coaches over the years, and a lot of them are figuring out ways how to keep the kids in where they're living, whether it's Brunswick, whether it's Strongsville, in certain areas, so they don't go to, say, the Catholic schools. So, there's going to be competition all over the place. So I think you've done a great job with that. Now, from year one to year two, what are some things that you picked up on from year one? What are some mistakes or things that maybe didn't work for you in year one that you're like, all right, let's switch this up into year two? And how's the transition going from year one to year two so far?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing in this profession, a lot of people do struggle with this, is just being humble. I think everyone feels like they have the answers, and because they have the win-loss record of X amount to X amount, there's some type of guru or a legendary coach. And I learned very quickly last year, that was my first year as a head coach, not having much success. And, I just got off the phone with Luke Beal. I talked to Luke Beal for an hour and 15 minutes a couple of days ago. I talked to Rich Nowak. I talked to people that have been in my situation. Coach Penzoni, I just talked to him today. He's coaching junior high football for us right now. And what an experience for those junior high kids to be coached by somebody that's been a 10, 11-year head football coach. So really just trying to pull some ideas from people that have done it and been in my shoes, because, in this profession, there's not a lot of people that, I can say, hey, have been the head coach of Brunswick. And the fact that I've, had conversations with the last three within this past week, it shows that, I want to learn from my mistakes. I want to build on the culture that they built, because they know it better than me. I'm from 4 hours away. I really have to go and pull from the community to figure out, what kind of makes Brunswick tick. And like I said, I try to be visible, but there's some things that, you can take the boy out of Brunswick, but you can't take the Brunswick out of the boy. Same thing with Guy Police. Like, I'm as Guy Police as they come. But you guys know Brunswick the way you know Brunswick. I know Guy Police the way I know Guy Police. So I'm not better than anybody. I really humble myself, and I've just tried to reach out, and any type of advice or nuggets that I can pull from these guys that have been in my shoes, it's going to really benefit us down the road. I think that answered your question. Sometimes, man, I get in a train of thought.
No, that was it.
It's a full loop and circle, man.
Hey, it's great information, and you're an open book with this stuff, and it's great to talk to you and hear the insight. That's for sure.
Yes, sir.
Hey, we're talking
as Ed always says to our guests, our viewers would much rather hear from you than hear us talk. So if you want to keep rolling, just keep rolling.
Sometimes I put myself on a 30-second clock on my phone. And I'm like, can I answer that question?
We have hard data proving that too. We have hard data proving that they would rather listen to our guests than us, which for a podcast is great.
Hey, I can just sit here and smile. You guys can look at the plants. You guys can talk the whole. I'm good. I appreciate you guys having me on here.
If my wife is down here, she would have admired your plants quite a while. But we're good there. I'll show her this later. Hey, Coach, it's interesting. We're talking with the head coach of the Brunswick Blue Devils, Kole Carter. It's hearing your. I had a different question. I'm going to get to it because it involves your kicker, and I love kickers. You may have heard once or twice. I'll get there later. But you mentioned talking to some of the past head coaches, Coach Nowak, a guy that we both played for. The three of us played for Nowak and Penzoni. So definitely tapping into them. But Coach Beal was in a relatively similar situation, maybe not as far away, but from a smaller school, in coming up to Brunswick to take over the program after an established head coach. So I think it's a good call. I think it was a great idea to call upon Coach Beal to get his experience and get some nuggets from him. If you don't mind, if there's anything you could share or you feel comfortable sharing, the difference between maybe talking to a Coach Beal versus talking to a Nowak / Penzoni.
Right. I think that whenever you come into a program, you obviously want to lean into the culture and the community, but you still have to do things your way. Mm-hmm. I think Coach Beal was in a situation where there were times that he questioned himself, and, he even talked to me and said, he had some regrets when he was the head coach here. And one thing he really wished he would have done is stayed true himself and done things his way. And whenever you do things your way, you can look back and not have any regrets. And then some things talking to Coach Nowak and Coach Penzoni, they really had a solid staff around them. And last year coming into a situation where I didn't know anybody, and there's a lot of guys on the staff that applied for the same job as what I have right now. And whenever you're talking about, 15, 20-year age difference, I really got to come in and I have to prove myself as an educator and as a football mind. So every day, I love football. I show up and I try to show my coaches, hey, I'm going to be the most motivated person here. I'm going to be the first one here. I'm going to be the last one to leave. And I really want them to see that because, it inspires them to work for me. So, working with Coach Noah, Coach Benzoni, surrounding myself with guys this year like Grant Relic is on the staff, and Grant's been great with me. Obviously being the head baseball coach, Owen Coglin's the head track coach. So just kind of really trying to build my program along with guys that have successful and sustained programs in Brunswick. It really helps us get the talent pool out. And if they see that I have relationships with these coaches, they'll want to have a relationship with me as well.
Coach, going into this year and year two into the GCC, you guys got Lorraine, the two-time LEL champions, coming into the conference this year, and then Riverside's going to join the conference next year, replacing Medina. This year kind of makes it an 18 full field in the GCC. Just kind of talk about how adding Lorraine gives you guys a little bit more competition going into this season in the GCC.
Yeah, Lorraine had an awesome season last year. And I got Berea Mid-Park week 1, so obviously the most recent football game is their playoff game against Berea. And I thought they had some really great athletes. And I think Coach does a great job there. I actually just saw him at the Browns OTAs a few weeks ago, and just a very humble guy. And, he really wants to do things the right way at Lorraine. And I think he's a great motivator, and he's got that program on the rise. So the better competition and the more programs we get in the GCC, the better. We want to grow that thing, maybe not as far east as it's growing, but we'd definitely like to see some more teams in there. And I think it's a phenomenal conference. I think it's one of the best conferences in the state of Ohio. And, we saw that last year. I think, and I could look back at this, but I want to say we had the 16th or 17th toughest strength of schedule in the entire state. We played 3 13-0 schools in Medina, Highland, Walsh Jesuit, and Minner. Now we don't have Medina, Highland, or Walsh Jesuit this year, but Lorraine and Elyria will both be a challenge in their own right. So definitely excited about getting them on the schedule and seeing them this year.
Yeah, the schedule. You're not. I mean, I've been a coach in this conference for a while before you got here, and the GCC is no joke. And you're adding more great competition. A Solon leaves, but you're picking up a Lorraine. A Medina leaves, but you're picking up a Riverside. So you're not looking at a whole lot of drop off there in competition, and let alone just having to fill the non-conference schedule up with Berea Mid-Park, Olmsted Falls, and now Elyria. It's those schools geographically favorable, very comparable. So the non-conference is pretty exciting for how it's lining up for Brunswick. So the last question, and I'm so happy to ask this question. You have a returning third team All-State kicker, Vinny DiTeodoro. This dude's a freaking stud. I went to a game where he made the 48-yarder against. He made a 48-yarder last year, or maybe it was even 2 years ago. And I told my son, I'm like, man, even when I was there, we'd never try that. He accounted for all the points against Strongsville, if I'm not mistaken. Just a total beast. Talk about the impact he's had on the program and what kind of year you're looking for him this year as a senior.
Yeah, I mean, Vinny's one of our strongest kids in the weight room. Like, it's awesome. I pull him in the office sometimes. I'm like, you sure you don't want to play outside linebacker? He wants no part of it. But he is a phenomenal kid. He really works at his craft. He's going to camps all the time, every weekend. He's never missing a weight room session. And whenever you have someone like that he also takes on punting duties as well. So, the things that he does for us special teams wides in the hidden yardage battle is phenomenal. And there's a lot of people that don't have that resource like what we have. So we try to take advantage of Vinny. I like to score more touchdowns in the red zone, so we don't need Vinny as much. But it's really nice whenever it's 4th and medium, 4th and plus, and you can roll him out there and you can bank on him knocking it through. He's an awesome kid, and he deserves everything that he's earned.
I ran into Coach Holtein at the St. Ambrose Festival, and we were talking about that, and he's like, yeah, I'm trying to get him to play defensive end, and he wants no part of it.
Every day. We can't do it. We can't. I have Coach Dreiss down there. He's almost like Vinny's personal trainer, and you go down there to Coach Dreiss, and Coach Dreiss is like, don't even think about it. Don't. So, great kid.
Having coached with Coach Dreiss for almost 17 years myself, I can empathize with him. He's got his dude. You don't want to mess with his dude.
He's protective over those specialists, and you got to love him for it.
You got to. Absolutely.
I also want to just, you talked about some kids earlier, Noah, that I didn't get to touch on, but I just want to say we have some really great returning kids that come back, and we've asked them to do some really hard things, and You talk about Eli Nichols. He's a 470 squat kid. He's moving it fast. He's a freak. Just a great athlete. Was great in the track program. Cohen Issa is actually healthy for the first time this year. He's looked very explosive in our 7-on-7s against Glenville and Olentangy in Midview last week. We're really excited about him. Landon Kirshner is another very exciting athlete. Braden Miles. I could go on and on about so many great seniors and underclassmen we have in our program. And like I said, I'm just very blessed to show up every day and have 80 to 90 kids that want to listen to me because, who am I at the end of the day? Like this is a blessing to be where we are, and football is the greatest sport on the earth because the brotherhood that we build and just love these kids, and I'm excited for the season they're going to have.
Hey, Coach, we want to thank you for taking the time to join us. I've been seeing some of the shirts that you guys have been giving away. That your players have been earning. If you happen to have an extra Brunswick built shirt laying around, double XL, would love to have one.
Guess what, brother? You just earned it.
Yeah.
Oh boy!
Oh man!
Oh boy!
No, get him in the weight room. Let's see if what he's
that's
benching.
there it is.
Let's let him earn
that.
Let's let him earn that.
Hey, anytime, I'll send you our schedule. Right, I'll send you a QR code. I want to see you there as soon as possible. We'll see if you still have taking it through the uprights.
Oh, I would love that.
I've been
competition.
I've been trying to figure out if I can kick my age, and I probably need a good month of training to be able to do that.
Oh, you got it, man.
I'll be your holder, and we can have a PAT competition with Vin.
And
we're talking PATs. I think I can hang with them there, but once we start backing up. Oof,
we'll get a camera guy. We'll send Ed out. We have Coach Carter. This could be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I'm loving this.
I'm all for things like this. Community builders. We want to do it.
Oh heck yeah! I love it.
I might consider that actually. It'll be fun.
He'll dust off the whole leg for one more go around.
Yeah, why not?
Should we put Sean on the O line? I don't know if that.
I was never on the special teams. I was a center, so I couldn't long snap. So they had to bring me out.
Long snap. They didn't call me special ed for nothing. Damn it.
And you still do.
That's right.
Hey, Coach, thanks again, man. We're looking forward to seeing how the Blue Devils do this year. Obviously, we're not trying to be as biased, but I personally want the Blue Devils to do as well as they can. And we look forward to getting some of the players on over the course of the season. And good luck. First kickoff this year for the Blue Devils, hosting Berea Mid Park on Friday, August 22nd. Thanks again, Coach.
Yes, sir. One quick plug. Community Day, August 9th. Canton McKinley, St. Vincent St. Mary, Garfield Heights, 10 o'clock. Would love to see you guys there next Saturday. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck this season.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, thank you guys for everything. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. That is head coach of the Brunswick Blue Devils, Kole Carter, going into his second season as the helm of the Brunswick football program. What a great show tonight, boys.
Yeah, that was awesome. 3
tremendous head coaches, 2 long, tenured head coaches at their respective schools. They've in Wadsworth and in Highland, Coach Todd, Coach Gibbons, respectively, really built their programs into that. They're programs. They're not football teams. They're programs. Sustained success in Division II, in between Division I, in their respective Suburban League conferences. And Coach Carter, starting at Brunswick, year 2, full season under his belt, really getting out there, injecting some fresh blood into the program. So we're looking, it's really, really cool to see what they're doing. Following them on social media, the things that you kind of take for granted when we were growing up. A lot of things were just, we knew what we were doing, and that's just what it was. But it's a different level of engagement that needs to happen now. And Coach Carter seems to be the perfect fit for what needs to happen to Brunswick to get the Blue Devils back up to where we're used to seeing them in the when we were playing back in the 2000s.
And he's very well spoken. He's fun. You could tell he has a lot of energy. And if you look at what they did last year, I mean, 2 out of the first 4 games were very close games that could have went either way. Berea Mid Park was a 7-point loss. 20-17 loss to Cleveland Heights. They had some really close games that could have went either way, and that would have been a huge difference in their season. But they did compete at a really high level, I thought. They took some bumps last year, but it's a first-year head coach trying to get his feet wet and trying to figure out who he has even on the roster to put in certain positions. So this year, we'll see how they compete in the Greater Cleveland Conference, and it's going to be fun to see what Coach Carter can do. Like I said, you love the energy and what he's doing. He's really trying to get the community involvement, and I think you're seeing it by the turnout in the weight room, like he said.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Coach Carter has really been building the foundation. Year one, he took over a program that it really had a lot of success. And I know last year wasn't the year that he wanted at 3-8, but I feel like he's really building the foundation with the players that he has coming back. He's having these camps, like you mentioned, out on the field. I think he's getting 80 men kids. So he's really building the foundation. And it was also great talking to Coach Todd, who really is getting back to square one, getting right back to where he wants this team to get back to with the amount of players that he's got returning. It's a senior-led group that he's bringing back. And Coach Gibbons, it's back to 0-0, like he said, after that. After the 13-1 season, he's back to square one. So, again, it was a great time talking to these three coaches tonight, and looking forward, again, to talking to these more coaches next week.
All right, and with that, well said, Noah, and that's going to wrap it up for our show tonight, High School Football Preview Show, presented by Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance. Make sure you check them out at rayfelton.com to get a quote on your home, life, and auto insurance needs. All right, that's going to wrap it up for Rob Troutman, Noah Jacobson, Josh Jeffy, and Sean Duffy. My name is Ed Dick. We want to thank you for watching this live on a YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe to get those notifications when you're about to go on the air. All right, stick around for a word from our sponsors. And this is Sports on Tap, and we will see you on the first off, one more time, we want to thank Coach Todd from Wadsworth, Coach Gibbons from Highland, and Coach Carter from Brunswick for joining us tonight. This is Sports on Tap. All right, and we'll see you on the other side.
Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is on every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Watch live on YouTube and make sure to subscribe. Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is presented by Raymond Felton State Farm.
Have you compared insurance rates lately? Are you satisfied with your current insurance provider? If not, look no further than Ray Felton State Farm, a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap. For a free quote, call his office at 234-284-2996 or visit him online at rayfelton.com.
Whether you're hosting a corporate event, wedding, conference, concert, or any other special gathering, our comprehensive range of services will exceed your expectations and elevate your event to new heights. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
We've got the experience, the passion, and the beach to make your event a smash hit. Whether it's a romantic wedding, a lively sports venue, or a rocking high school dance, Troutland Entertainment has you covered. Contact them at 330-414-4261 or email them at troutlandent@gmail.com. That's troutlandent@gmail.com. Elevate your brand with Mako Custom Printing. Mako Custom Printing specializes in creating high-quality spiritware, corporate apparel, and promotional products that make your brand stand out. Whether you need custom printing, graphic design, or an online store for your school or business, we've got you covered. Make a statement with Mako Custom Printing. Visit us at mako.com to start your custom printing journey today. That's MEHCO.com.